Okay, now he has given the access, so we can record. When we are done, I'll send you the link, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't come. We are 11. Someone has just dropped. I'll be taking attendance by the end of the class. And remember, attendance mark will be given. So if consistently you absent yourself, I'll count the number of times that you visit the class, and I'll portion the attendance mark according to that. So let's be mindful of the fact that we are not going to just do it anyhow, but we'll check attendance. That is why I call for your pictures and videos to be shown as I teach. So in sociology, comparative to the educational psychologist and anthropology or economist, the educational psychologist studies human beings and how we interact with others. That is the sociability. So it's a positive science that deals with facts as they are or as they operate. And we study individual behaviors as they are, not as it ought to be. The way the behavior is, that is how we study it, and not how the behavior is supposed to be, because it's what you show that determines what we do. And we use what we do or what you show as bait to tell what will happen. And it is hovering around the four key goals of psychology. We describe behavior, we explain behavior, we predict behavior, and we modify behavior. So write them down in your jotters. We have four key goals that we use as basis to operate as psychologists. So every psychologist hope or try to achieve that. Your ability to describe a behavior accurately, your ability to explain the behavior accurately, your ability to predict behavior accurately, and your ability to modify or change over behavior accurately. So you can pick that as basis to guide our lecture. So it is the application of psychological principles, as we have said already, in the field of education. It means psychology has principles that we follow. And these principles, we try to employ them in education. And when you employ them in education, it becomes an applied field. So educational psychology is an applied field of psychology, where we apply the psychological principles, theories, propositions in education. So by applying these principles and techniques, we try to study the behavior and the experiences that learners exhibit or show to us. We continue to grow in science. So as research findings accumulate, educational psychology, we are able to get better insight into the nature of who you are, who your learners are, and how they behave. Because of what we have already accumulated in terms of knowledge and what we have studied concerning human behavior, we are able to appreciate this, how the person should behave, and how we are able to change the behavior to a way that we want it. And the honors of the course is to change behavior to the positive. As a promising area of study in terms of educational psychology, we are ever-growing and we add on a lot of things. But then, we apply our knowledge in several areas: schools, consultancy, research, anything that will maximize how you learn. We try to find ourselves there. That is why I'm here teaching you. So we concentrate on the learner, the teacher, and what the teacher teaches, and how the teacher teaches it. So that is one of the scopes that we try to encapsulate in our system. Any question? Any question? Hello, any question? Any question? Please, if you have a question, you raise your hand, ask it. If you have a question, raise your hand, ask it for me to answer before we continue. Any question, please? Roger, any question? Omar Farouk, any question? Maris, any question? Josephine, any question? Dorcas, any question? Dorothy, any question?
No, doctor, we can continue.
Not yet, please.
All right.
Not yet, please. Doctor, we can continue.
So let's talk about the key people that we engage. The learner. The learner is the focus of every learning situation or any teaching and learning situation. So we capitalize on that, or we try to use that one as a prime or priority. The learner is the one that you teach, and he's the one that we apply the psychological principles on. So every classroom situation is knitted around the learner. When we say it's knitted around the learner, it means the learner is the focus of your teaching. So no teacher amongst you should go and teach for yourself. When you are going to teach, think before you go out there. Get to know, who am I going to teach? How do I teach the person? What do I teach the person, and how do I teach that thing? The moment you ask yourself these historical questions, you are working in the realm of the learner. It means everything is being made around the learner and no other person else. Some of us, because we don't have the education background, might be teaching, but we teach for ourselves and not for the learner. Without the learner, you are not there as a teacher. The teacher is nothing. You are nobody. If you teach and the learner do not get the import of what you have taught, you have not done anything. That is why when the learners fail, they blame you, the teacher. So why don't we align our learning around them or develop it around them and teach them so that they'll get the best? So the learner is the one we say a student, the one we teach, the one we come together, gather information and impart onto them. So get to know your learner. Your ability to know who the learner is very key in the learning process. The kind of learners that you are engaging and the kind of information you give them is very critical. Your inability to understand your learners may end up you teaching and the learner is not getting anything. Yes, I know. Some of you say we teach large classes and we can't know everybody. If you make an effort, you get to know them. You are not knowing them as an individual. It's only at the extreme cases that you look for an individual that is having a challenge, which is peculiar. But you should know the group that you are teaching and how you are teaching them so that they can get the import of the course, the import of your subject, and choose the best strategies that meet them and not you. Some of us take solace in selecting a particular teaching method, which we think is good for us, but it might not be good for the learner. So look out for the good method that will suit the learner you are engaging and not you, the teacher. How you comfort yourself with that teaching style or teaching method or teaching strategy. Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, doctor.
Yes,
doctor,
we are here.
With you.
And we have the learning experience. So we, those in educational psychology, we try to help in deciding what learning experiences or activities that are desirable for us and the learner. And activities and experiences that are desirable for the learner should be based on the stage of the learner. When we say the stage of the learner, the level at which they operate. So an experience, an activity, a skill that is desirable for each learner is diverse. How you are going to teach the Form 1 student may be different from how you are going to teach the Form 2 student and Form 3 student. Remember, most of us as service persons are always given the Form 1 classes, which is erroneous. Usually, I term that one as erroneous. Why? Because you are less experienced. The experienced one should be teaching them so that they can give them the foundational knowledge. Then when they get to the Form 2, by then they might have gotten the knowledge. So you, the service person, when teaching them, you will not suffer. But they will rather push you to the Form 1s so that you teach them. And if you are not good in choosing the best strategy, the learner may not get it. And if the learner is polluted at that stage, it will go against them. So trying to change the pollution in their minds become problematic. So wherever you find yourself and a service person is brought to you in the senior high school that you find yourself today, and they want to give a Form 1 class to that service person, tell the service person to rather go to Form 2 and give the person to just teach there, because the Form 2 students have gotten the foundational knowledge of the various subject areas. And changing them will not be difficult, or handling them will not be difficult. But the Form 1s are now trying to pick up. They are now trying to integrate, that is assimilation, the new information that they are meeting or encountering into what they have, or trying to change their thought from junior high school thinking to senior high. That is accommodation or modification. So that can only be done by an experienced teacher at their level, and not just someone who has just started teaching. But we see the opposite, and I wouldn't want you to repeat it when you have the chance to become a mentor to any of them. And look at where they are, their age level, their thinking level, and engage them. Don't give them anything beyond their stage of development and their stage of learning. Don't give anything less than their stage of development and their stage of learning. Why am I saying this? If you are giving them issues or tasks below their standard, they will become bored. And when they are bored, they will drop out by sleeping. When you give them tasks that are difficult than their level, they become frustrated and they will not concentrate. Chaos will happen in their system. And when chaos sets in, there's nothing that will change them. They will speak, even that thing, we didn't understand it. They didn't understand because you, the teacher, didn't do the right thing. Any question? Any question? Then I move to the learning process. Any question? Yes, Farouk, talk. Farouk, talk. Your hand is up. I know.
Doctor.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, doctor, is it that in every ideal situation, you should have the student to understand whatever the teacher teaches?
Is it what advisable to do what?
No, I mean, in an ideal situation where the teacher have done all what is necessary to do, and the child doesn't understand, does it really become the fault of the teacher, or maybe it have other reasons to that?
Let's say a reciprocal situation or problem. A reciprocal problem. One, the learning situation can be one, or the learning environment. One. Second, the teacher situation can be one. Third, the student situation. But teachers are quick to say the students are born or not born. The students are no good. But it could be that you, the teacher, didn't choose the best method in imparting that knowledge. Or the environment the learning is taking place wasn't appropriate at that time for you to use. Yet you use it. So you need to do diagnosis of why things are happening that way. And it shouldn't be continuous. When it becomes continuous, then we have a call for concern. If every day you teach and they are not understanding, they will never blame the learner. They will blame you, the teacher. So always you teach and the students are not learning, or they are not getting the input of the course, then you have to check yourself as a teacher. You should teach to touch the spirit of the learner, so that they will see you as a small God. Meanwhile, you are just human, mortal. You should teach to touch the soul of the learner. You should teach change their thought to the way you want them to. But you don't teach them to rebel in the way you want.
Who is that?
Once you teach them to rebel, it goes against you. So no teacher should go in that tangent. So you wouldn't blame the student, you must be blamed first, because you are the one sending the search image to the learner. You are the one teaching them. So if they are to blame, they will blame you. The teachers are not good because they are running after galamsey. And you do it in invigilation, private teaching, and the rest. And in the senior high school, because we are dealing with the free SHS, most of us, what we do is that we do workbooks. And the workbook is just a minute portion of what the learners must know. So they only know a small portion. They go right mercy and they fail. And you say the learners of today are not learning. What did you do? You did wrong. So this issue is tackled from 3 angles: the learner, you, the teacher, and the environment. That is all. Any question? Have you understood it, Farouk?
Yes, doctor. We are building the dosage.
You are building the basic.
Yeah, we are building the dosage. I'm building something. So.
All right. All right. Then we have the learning process. We discuss the various principles and laws and the theories that underpin learning. How do we learn? And when we learn, how do we keep the information? When we keep, how do we bring them back? Remember it. And what do we forget? How do we minimize forgetting? How do we form concepts? How do we reason? How do we think? So in the learning process, all these things come to play so that you guide your learner in that process. And we have several ways in guiding learners as to what to learn, when to learn, and how to learn it. And no learner should learn beyond 3 hours. You are not a magician. Remember, the human brain is structured to take at most 2 hours. Why is it that even in the university, they do 2 credits and 1 credit? You don't understand why they do 2 credits and 1 credit. But today I'll tell you, the human brain is divided into 2, left and right hemisphere. Left and right hemisphere. And there's a gap in between them. The gap is there for airspace for you to nourish your brain. And when you keep learning continuously for 2 hours, it starts to close up with a neurotransmitter called serotonin. When serotonin comes in, it makes you feel dizzy and you start yawning. Meanwhile, you are not feeling sleepy. It means the gap for knowledge is full. You need to go out there and use that energy. And how do you use it? You need to exercise. But we forgo all these things. Even when we are yawning, we put our feet in water. We take tramadol just to stay awake to learn. So when you go there, you tell the learners, you are not meant to study beyond 2 hours. Study 2 hours and rest more. Then remember what you have been taught or you have studied. And again, you can let them learn how to what? Remember the information that they have learned. How do we do that? We do maintenance rehearsal or elaborate rehearsal. Maintenance rehearsal is when we repeat the information over and over again. And elaborate rehearsal is when we try to apply the knowledge in areas that are similar so that we will not forget them. But what even causes forgetting? There are several factors that causes forgetting. 1, fatigue. 2, the kind of food you eat. 3, degenerative factors in us. Even sometimes old age let us forget. And we call that one dementia. Sometimes accident can let you forget. But we can minimize all these things when we try to rehearse or go over our information. Any question? Then we move. Any question? Yes, ask your question. Clifford, ask your question.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, please, how does the food we eat affect our studies in terms of forgetting?
When you eat fermented food, you drowse. One of them is kondo. Those of us who like molikoko. Remember, it has, when it ferments, it has trace of alcohol. And alcohol is something that when you take it, you forget about the information and you say non-fa. So as when you take plenty kondo or eat plenty corn food, sometimes it drowns you by individual difference. Mind you, as I sit here, if I keep taking kondo porridge, I feel like sleeping. So if I take it and go to class, do you think I will deliver? No. So look at the kind of food that you are allergic to. When you take a food and it drowns you, don't take it. You may forget all that you have learned when you take that food. Farouk, you also have a question. Ask.
Yes, doctor. My question happens to be, as you are saying, study or learning should not go beyond 2 hours.
Yes, that is the
after
ideal.
2 hours.
That is after the 2 hours. For a course, for a course, let's say you are teaching geography or social studies, and you have taught the learner, and the learner want to read social studies. I don't expect them to go beyond 2 hours, if only they are doing serious learning. Remember, some learners do to impress. We call do impress. And what it means is that they will pack plenty books, or they will sit on the book for many hours, meanwhile they are not learning anything. They'll just be looking through pictures in the book or the letters that they've seen in the book and nothing else. That is different from any serious learning situation will not go beyond 2 hours. You get tired. You get tired. So have that in mind. Hello. Farouk, your place is noisy. Farouk, your place is noisy. Your place is noisy, Farouk. Can we continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, Doc.
All right. And we have the learning situation or environment. Where the learning takes place is the learning situation or the environment. We have several factors that come to play when it comes to the learning environment. And the learning environment comes midway the learner and the teacher. The learning environment comes midway between the learner and the teacher. And the learning situation as well. So topics like classroom climate, how different groups and how they behave affect the classroom process, practices that may facilitate learning, how we evaluate the techniques that we choose or the practice that we employ. All this should be factored in so that they will look coherent with the learner. So when we apply, it will not go against any learner. So this is very critical, very important aspect of us. The learner, the learning process, the learning situation, and the teacher as well. All these are having influences in the learning situation. But the only situation that can midway between the learner and the teacher is the learning situation. So have that in mind. So get an environment that is very conducive, that can inure to the learning of the learners and nothing else. If you don't get an environment that will help the process of learning, then we are doomed now. And that is what we pray for. So we want each and every teacher to be able to do that. Yes, you may say you don't provide a room, it's the teacher. But a room that is dirty, how would you use it? A room that is not conducive, how do you use it to teach? So in your own way, you do improvisation. Improvisation is a start, bringing something new that you never found in your immediate environment. And in research, we call it action research. You have solved an immediate problem just to inure the development of learning in your classroom. So have that in mind. Any concern or question? Any concern or question, please, then we continue.
Then you pass my name. Okay. My friend.
So the teacher.
I don't want to tell you.
Every teacher must have in mind that you are the role model to your learners. And there shouldn't be conflict between you and your learners. And you should be able to solve conflicts among learners. You must have the motivation, and you should be able to motivate your learners. You must get devoid of anxiety, that is unnecessary fears. And you should be able to take away fear from learners as well. You need to walk them through adjustment processes so that they can reach their aspirational levels. All these factors, if they are not checked in the teaching and learning environment or situation, it goes against the learning process. And at the end of the day, the learner will not get the import of your course. So think about you, the teacher, think about you, the learner, think about the environment, and think about what you teach. Teachers have several influences in the learning situation. The way we talk, the way we dress, the way we behave. Some of you would want to go the autofesta. Some learners are happy when they see you in that. But that might not be a good way of dressing as a professional teacher. Another way, some of you think that being able to frighten students is the best way to control them. but that might not be the right way. It's a way to deter them from class. So you should be someone that should be welcomed by your learners, regardless of how disciplined you are. Me, I'm very disciplined. Myself, Dr. Mahama, very disciplined. You would love to be in my class, and I go by my principles. I have my class rules, I have my social rules. And no student comes to my class and does not enjoy it. You enjoy because I'll try to touch your soul. I'll try to make you to become a teacher and nothing else. That is a mark of a good teacher. So the teacher, you must have this and be able to solve much problems of the learners so that they can get what we are taking them through. If you don't control and check them, it goes against the learning process and the learner will not get the input of the course or subject. And as a teacher, you should be able to what? To evaluate your teaching processes, judge the worth of it. Were you successful or unsuccessful? After going through the educational psychology as a course, you'll be able to know all these things and how you can evaluate them using strategies like test, observation, and so on and so forth. So all these are available to use. They are available to use. So note that. Any question? Any question? Any question, please? Hello?
No question, sir.
All right.
Doctor, no question, please.
All right. We have some importance of educational psychology. After going through all these things, what importance or important aspect have you taken from the course? Let's build on what you give me to tell you what educational psychology has done for you now. Can you offer me how the course, just what you have just learned less than an hour ago, has impacted you or has changed in you as a teacher? If you want to talk, raise your hand. I'll call upon you. And show your video as you want to talk. Roger, yes. Roger, you can talk.
Hello.
Yeah, Roger, we are listening.
Okay, so I've learned that the learning environment is very important, and it's an intermediary between the learner and then the teacher.
Okay. So how important are those things to you as a teacher?
Okay, so for this course, the learning environment should always be conducive and ready for academic works. Like the place should be serene, it should be neat, it should be clean.
So this is how you have to put it. By studying educational psychology, teachers are going to be equipped with knowledge, or they are equipped with knowledge that they will use to conduct a class or have a lesson in a conducive environment. And how do you do that? You make sure the environment you choose for the learning becomes so conducive to the learner, so that learning can take place there. Simple as that. Farouk, you have a question? Ask.
Yes, sir.
No, sir, it's a contribution.
All right.
Educational psychology equips the teacher with the ability to be able to identify the various needs of his learners, his or her learners.
It helps you to be able to identify the needs of learners and how you are able to address them. It's also true. Josephine, Farouk and Roger have spoken. Josephine, talk before we move to Clifford. Josephine.
Sir.
I'm listening. Talk. Show your video. Hey,
Okay.
Josephine, your room is too dark.
Yes, the light is out.
I
don't have light.
Okay.
Yes, I know that human beings have a reason for behaving in a certain way. So as a teacher, I need to be able to understand my learners when they behave in a certain way. So this course will enable me to handle them professionally, to be able to understand them when they behave in a certain manner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dorcas. Dorcas, how important is educational psychology to you?
Say I think this course will help me to know how to relate with my learners more, because it will help me to know the kind of tasks to give it to them so that I don't go beyond or below their normal or their intelligence.
Okay. All right. Clifford, how important will this course be to you? Clifford. Clifford.
Sir, hello, sir.
How important will the course be to you?
Hello, sir.
I asked a question. How important will the course be to you?
Hello, please, can I be heard?
Yes, you can talk.
Sir, sorry, it's raining here. That's why I'm shouting. I'm very sorry. Sir, please, yes. I think as teacher, we must also consider the environment in which we organize ourselves for teaching and where learning takes place. As educational psychologists, we need to consider the environment and other factors that will facilitate the learning process. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you to Maris. Maris Efrifa, show your video and talk.
Sir,
Yes.
please also help the teacher choose the best.
We are not seeing you. Show your video and talk.
Sir.
Yes.
The course will help the teacher choose the best teaching method which suits the group he is teaching, based on how they respond to other teaching methods.
Okay. You are also good there. Dorothy, how important will the course be to you? Show your video and talk.
Okay. This course will help me to identify the uniqueness among my students and how to go about teaching them for everyone to understand.
Okay, you are also right. Delalina, show your video and talk. Delalina.
Say.
You're listening. How important would the course be to you?
Education psychology will help me know things to do to my students or how to motivate my students in their learning.
Okay. How to motivate your students in their learning. All right. Angel. Angel. Show your video and talk.
Okay. This course will help me know my students, what to teach them and how to teach them for them to understand.
All right. Is that all?
Yes.
Who is here to talk? We've all spoken, eh?
Yes.
Are you sure? Are you sure we've all spoken? All right. Then we are less than the number. So we have several important, all that you have said are good. But then it helps you to understand the learning process of learners and how you can guide the learners as well. So the motivation here that was said by our sister, Delalinda, has a way to, and how to evaluate and even influence the curriculum changes. When we say curriculum, what do you use as basis to teach? The guiding principle of every teacher. What the GS use in the schools. Through educational psychology, knowledge in educational psychology, you'll be able to influence how those things can be changed if they are not in line with what is good for the learner in a particular cultural setting. And again, you can help your learners to develop themselves and think higher, And you are able to translate educational objectives to instructional objectives. So educational objectives are global, whilst instructional objectives are specific. It means we break educational objectives into many parts, into instructional objectives and teach. So let's say you want to get a certificate in education. That is PGD, special PGD. But within the special PGD, we have several courses. So the big components is an educational objective, and the various courses there are instructional objectives. Take it from that picture. That is the global to specific. Global for educational objective and instructional objective for specific objectives. It also helps the teacher to be able to acquire knowledge and integrate psychological principles and theories of how learning takes place. So you'd also apply the best method or andragogical, pedagogical, and pedagogical strategies in teaching. You apply pedagogical, that is for young learners, andragogical, that is adult learners. That will meet them. So those that you are going to teach, they are pair adults. So there will be a blend of andragogy and pedagogy there. Then also acquire the techniques for motivating learners. Madam Delalinda, your issue is here. And it gives you the skill and knowledge to be able to manage the learning environment, a conducive learning setting for your learner. And these are the few importance of educational psychology to you, the trainee teacher. So what is an educational objectives? Educational objectives or learning outcomes are statements that clearly describe what learners are expected to achieve or to be able to do as a result of their participation in an educational program. These are global or broader in nature, and it must be observable and measurable. When we say one educational psychology should be observable and measurable is this. We should be able to see some changes in people, and we should be able to ascertain how the changes has been or have been. That's the measurability. So learning outcomes are educational objectives. And for instance, we can say one of the two, train the Indian to speak, read, write both the native and English language as what? Educational objective. And again, to provide people or individuals with knowledge and skills needed to function effectively as responsible citizens in society. These are well-written educational objectives. These are well-written educational objectives. And we have instructional objectives. They are very specific, and they are the terminal behaviors that we want learners to exhibit at the end of the learning session. Learning session. What did I say? Learning session and not educational session. So a particular learning, let's say what we are doing at the end of the learning session, you should be able to do something. And that is what we term as instructional objective. We have criteria in doing that. We have criteria for stating them. You need to specify the terminal behavior. And the terminal behavior is the behavior you want to see in the learner when you walk them through the learning situation. And you need to also specify the conditions under which the terminal behavior should be exhibited or demonstrated by your learner. How would you want the learner to show that terminal behavior when you are done teaching? So let's say specification of the terminal behavior. Maybe at the end of the lesson, students will be able to mention 3 things that educational psychology can do for them. That is, we have specified the terminal behavior. And we have to specify under what condition do you want it to occur? Do you want it to be oral? Do you want it to be paper and pen? We have to specify that. And the last one, you need to specify the acceptable level of performance of the expected terminal behavior. To what extent would you say that they have done good or bad? You need to show that before the teaching even goes on to come, so that you use that one to measure whether you have succeeded in your teaching or not. Any question? Any question? On what?
Yo, yeah, but more. And we special needs and I green na green.
Any question? Any question, please? Any question, please? You don't have questions, eh? Then let's continue.
No, sir.
We have domains of instructional objective, and the domains are 3: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. So when we are planning an instructional session, you need to factor in these 3 domains. If you want to teach something to your learners, you need to make sure that all these 3 domains are captured. All these 3 domains are captured. So the cognitive domain should be factored in, the affective domain should be factored in, and the psycho domain should be factored in. So what goes into each of them? With the cognitive domain, it's about the mind, building the mind of the learner. How they should be able to think, pick concepts, be able to reason and act on some things that they require to do. With the affective domain, how they are able to come together as one, their feelings, their aspirations, their aptitude in terms of coming together, togetherness, teamwork, sharing ideas, and the rest is about feeling. And the psychomotor, how to be able to act on what you have taught, how you have formed a team, and how to operate. So these do not stand in isolation. They work in tandem. They work hand in hand. So when you are doing this lesson plan, or you are having a task to deliver in terms of teaching, you need to factor in all these things so that the learners will not be what? Affected or cheated. Any question? Clarification? Concerns? So the 3 domains of instructional objectives are cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. Cognitive is about the mindset, how to develop their minds, their intellect. Affective is about their feelings, aspirations, and psychomotor is their actions in concept of the learning situation. Any question? Any question? Any question, please?
No, sir.
All right. Now that we know what goes into our instruction or instructional objective and the domains that are involved, we need to talk about instructional designs, how teaching can be done. And we'll talk about only 2. There are many of them, but we are going to talk about two. The instructional designs, the instruction as a process, and instruction as a process, and instruction as a system. We are going to talk about them. So what then is instructional design? A process consists of determining the needs of learners, defining the end results or end goals and objectives of the instruction, designing and planning assessment tasks, and designing teaching and learning activities to achieve the desired quality of instruction. So instruction can be conceptualized in two ways. First, as a system, and second, as a process. For the instruction as a system, we have three key things that we must consider: the search image, the instructor, and the learner. So when we say instruction is a system, it means it contains three key things: the search image, the instructor, and the learner. The search image is the learnable bit of information that are well organized and to be transmitted or imparted onto the learner during an instructional session. So the search image here is the material that you want to teach. The information that you want to offer your learners is what we term as search image. And this search image, they are not too big. We have taken bits from several components and organized them well so that we'll teach our learners to get it. So every teacher that wants to teach, you need to make sure you have an instructional search image. Instructional search image. And we have the learner. The learner is the one that the search image is aimed at. The learner is the one the search image is aimed at. So the search image or the learnable bit of information is being applied on the learner by who? The teacher, who is the instructor. Instructor is the one who delivers the information. So they carefully select, carefully organize, and present the search image to the learner. A question can be placed in this way: a well-organized information that is intended for the learner is known as what? Search image. The one who tried to present an information to the learner after organizing them in the situation that the learner will get the input is known as what? Instructor. The one who is aimed at being given an information so that they will have a mastery of the information is known as who? The learner. So whenever you hear instruction as a system, always have in mind your search image, your instructor, your learner. And the search image is the information the teacher wants to present, and the instructor is the one presenting the information, and the learner is the one receiving the information. So there's an arrow. This is a diagram of it. So the search image here contains the three domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Can you all see it? Can you all see it?
Yes.
So there's a feedback. It means when you teach,
sir.
when you teach, you need to get feedback from your learners. As soon as you are done teaching, give your learners feedback. So how do you do the feedback? Or how do you get the feedback? You need to solicit that through several ways. By just mere asking them questions or testing them and so on and so forth. Any question? Clarification, concern, then we move to instruction as a process. Any question? Please ask your question, if you do have any. Any question, please? Can we continue? All right.
Yes, sir.
We have instruction as a process, which simply means that we take information from the environment or however that we see it as teachers and present to the learner, from our mind to the learner. And this particular instruction as a process we are using that of Robert Glaser in 1962. We have the school learning model by John Carroll. We have the Ned Flanders one by the social interaction model by Ned Flanders. And we have the computer-based teaching model by Lawrence Slow and then Daniel Davis. But then we are not using them. We are using what Ghana we apply. And that is the strip-down method. Strip-down method. He developed it in 4. It divides it into what? 4 components. It divides into 4 components. And each component influences the other. So each of the components influences the other. And the components are the instructional objectives, the learnable bit of information that you want to impart onto the learner. The second one is the entry behavior, what the learner knows before the class, their aptitude, their aspirations before the class, the instructional procedure, the kind of strategies that you use in teaching and how you teach it, and performance assessment, trying to see how well they've grabbed the information or how bad you have taught as a teacher. So you can see arrows walking through them. So when there's a problem with any of these 4, it affects the other. When there's a problem on any of these 4, it affects the other. So as a teacher, you need to select a good instructional objective. You need to understand the learner and the entry behavior of the learner. You need to choose a best procedure in imparting knowledge. And you need to choose best strategies in assessing your learners to get to know what they have acquired in the teaching and learning process. Your inability to do all these things means that you don't understand anything and you're not a good teacher. So as you are going to teach in the senior high school, we expect you to choose a best instructional objective that is achievable, observable, and measurable. And you must know the learner before they enter the class, what they're supposed to know in the learning. Remember, they are not operating in isolation. They have experienced a lot of things from home. Think about it and teach from there. So you teach from the unknown and the known to the unknown. What do they know? Let them tell you. When they tell you, you use that one as a springboard to teach. And choose the best method that suits them in the teaching process. And choose the best strategy in examining them to see whether they have acquired the knowledge that you have given or not. Your inability to do that is questionable. Are you with me? Your inability in doing that is what? Questionable on your image as a teacher. So we expect that you do it and do it better. Any question? Any question? Can we continue?
Yes, sir, we can continue.
Sir, we can continue.
So the explanations of the objectives, when you are doing it or selecting instructional objective, it must follow the SMART procedure. And the SMART is, it should be specific, meaning you should have what exactly you want them to get. And it should be something that you can ascertain, that is measurability. It should be something that you'll be able to do, or the learner should be able to do, achievability. And it should be important in terms of their usage application in their lives. And it should go according to time. Don't pick an objective that is not specific. Don't pick an objective that cannot be measured. Don't pick an objective that cannot be achieved. And don't pick an objective that do not have any value in the life of the learning situation or the learner, and go according to time that you have allotted for the learning situation. A moment, do brainstorm and ask me questions. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Thank you. Any question, clarification, concerns? If you have any, tell us. We take it out from there. Any question, clarification, concerns? If you have any, tell us, then we take it up from there. Hello, group. Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, so can we continue?
Yes, please, Doc.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you, the teacher, you are the same person with them as instructor. You are expected to have a clear idea about what your students should be able to do at the end of the instructional session. That makes you a good teacher. Your inability to do that means you may be hitting around the books. So this is the entry behavior. We describe the level before the instruction begins, what they know before or they know before the class, their previous learned information, their ability to develop ideas, their motivational state, their aptitude, and the rest. So you teach from the known to the unknown. And the instructional procedure over here is what we term as, what do you use to teach? In what way do you teach it? What procedure have you done? Are you going to use an in-class group discussion? Are you going to do a lecture? Is it an inquiry? And so on and so forth. So you choose which one that you think best fit the lesson and the learner, and not that fits you, the teacher. And the performance assessment, we can have the formative and summative. It all depends on you. Either test the formative or summative or oral observation and so on and so forth. All these are strategies that we can use to be able to ascertain whether learning has taken place or not. In fact, for research methods in educational psychology, we wouldn't want to worry you with it. And that is what we those in educational psychology have agreed upon, because you did research methods in your various degrees and you wouldn't need it. You wouldn't need it. Any question? Any question? If you don't have a question, then we'll start the unit 2. Because yesterday we couldn't do anything. Maybe you can do 30 minutes on the unit 2. Any question, please? Hello? Hello?
Sir, continue, sir.
All right. So I'll pause this one and give the recording out and open the new unit. That is the unit 2. And you will see me ending the class. If I end, log in again. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
If I end the class, log in again, because I want to transform this into a video for you. Thank you very much.